Hello. Today I want to talk about the conflict between ontological reason and technical reason as conceptualized by Paul Tillich, a 20th century Protestant philosopher and theologian of German origin who was exiled to the United States before the Second World War. It is Tillich's philosophical thought that interests us here, although we will look for it in his theology, which is in fact a Christian existentialism, whose originality is that it is never separated from an ontological reflection, in other words, a reflection on being. Tillich wants to clarify the meaning of the concept of reason in order to found his epistemology, the theory of knowledge, on an ontology, the theory of being. He calls for a distinction to be drawn between an ontological and a technical conception of reason. In his view, for the classical philosophical tradition, reason refers to the structure of the intelligence that enables it to grasp and transform reality. It is at work in the cognitive, aesthetic, practical and technical functions of human intelligence. Reason, in the classical sense, is therefore ontological, and its cognitive nature is one element alongside the others. But the technical conception of reason always comes alongside and sometimes replaces this ontological conception. Now, if for Tillich ontological reason determines the ends of human action, technical reason determines their means. He notes that these two conceptions have always existed in philosophical thought, and that in the classical tradition, the ontological conception predominates. Thus, technical reason only presents a danger when it separates itself from ontological reason and reduces reason to the ability to reason. And precisely, since the middle of the 19th century and the collapse of German classical idealism, according to him the technical conception of reason has prevailed over the ontological conception, in the wake of English empiricism, critical reason having ceased to exercise its function of control over norms and ends. What are we to make of the consequences of Paul Tillich's analysis? If technical reason has supplanted ontological reason, the means themselves predominate over the ends, which then become secondary. Man, life, and nature itself are reduced to cogs or tools in the service of a blind machine. In Kant's ethics, wherever man at least is considered as a means, he must also be considered as an end in himself. Doesn't the destruction of man and the earth, which we are helplessly witnessing, find a modern explanation in the cultural victory of technical reason over ontological reason? The point here is not to obscure the essential character of technique, an inevitable component of culture in its role as man's transformation of nature with a view to satisfying his own needs. But it is a question of articulating it with the necessary preservation of things, an end in itself that also meets man's needs. We therefore need to question, perhaps with Jacques Ellul, technique as a system and the place it should hold in human being and action. In this sense, the conflict between ontological reason and technical reason, evoked by Tillich, appears in the antagonism between the being of things as they are given to us, particularly in nature, and their transformation by technology, which turns them into objects that we can use. The anarchic development of technology as a system, backed by the predominance of technical reason, tends to instrumentalize everything, including human life, both individual and collective.